What's up, everyone? Happy Football Friday. Still here down in Mobile. It was a great week of practice. We'll talk about that after we get through all the news, and we actually have a game to recap that went down last night. The East-West Shrine Bowl at AT&T Stadium. East team shutting out the West team 25-0. It was not the greatest. Not the greatest. It was the a lot of defense. A lot of defense in this one for sure. I think there was 7 total turnovers. But not a great quarterback play. Cam Miller, probably the best one for sure. It's always tough to accumulate a ton of stats in these all-star games, but 99 yards, 58.8%. Did have 2 fumbles, one that he literally just dropped the snap. It was a pretty horrendous fumble there. Brady Cook for Missouri, 66.7%, 69 yards. Max Brosmer for Minnesota, 50%, 55 yards a pick. And then Ethan Garbers for UCLA, 50% as well, 40 yards, 2 picks. Peyton Thorne, the last quarterback there, 45.5%, 27 yards. He was the best running quarterback there. 4 carries for 30 yards. But player of the game, he ended up being the offensive player of the game. Running back Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt from Arizona, 11 carries, 97 yards, 2 touchdowns. Excellent player. The offensive line did a great job creating holes all night, I should say. And really is nice watching JCM there. Speed is his best attribute, I think. Anyways, got to the edge on a couple occasions, including his first touchdown, and then had a nice cutback on his second touchdown, which ended up being the only 2 offensive touchdowns of the game. You can see there defensively, the guy that won Defensive Player of the Game for the East Side, South Carolina defensive back O'Donnell Fortune. He had a tackle, 2 pass defense, and a 65-yard pick 6. I believe that was off of Max Brosmer. And I thought Johnny Walker played excellent as well. The Missouri defensive end there, 2 tackles, both of them solos, 2 sacks, 2 tackles lost, 3 QB hits, 1 forced fumble. Leading the game in receiving, Eastern Washington wide receiver Efton Chisholm, 4 catches, 43 yards on 4 targets there. But yeah, it was a pretty solid game. Again, a lot of jitters offensively. Defense really played well, especially on the East side. But the first, actually, I think the second, because I think the Hula Bowl already happened. So the second of the major 3 bowl games there, with the Senior Bowl coming up tomorrow, 2:30 Eastern. But college football news here at Notre Dame. Marcus Freeman has his new defensive coordinator, Al Golden, leaving to go to the Bengals. They hired former Texas defensive coordinator Chris Ash as their defensive coordinator, last a coordinator in 2020 with Texas. Has been a couple different places since. He was a scout for the Jacksonville Jaguars last year. So going to Notre Dame next season, back to coaching. Georgia wide receiver Colby Young didn't play at all this year. Had a legal issue pop up in camp, and then was suspended, reinstated with the team just recently. but or I guess in late November he was reinstated, but didn't play. Pled no contest to misdemeanor or disorderly conduct, sentenced 12 months probation, $500 fine as well. Yeah, I mean it's something that Georgia was having a lot of legal issues the last 2 years, but it's good to see Colby as a first-time offender get some leniency, and it's interesting to say the least that Georgia is, he's coming back to Georgia. I feel like you usually see these legal situations, and it's like the guy's out. Like the team doesn't want him back. The guy doesn't want to be back there because the team doesn't want him back, understandably so. But yeah, so he will serve 12 months probation and presumably play with Gunnar Stockton and the Bulldogs in the fall, unless he transfers in the April transfer window. UFL news, a bunch of signings as we are 2 months away from UFL kickoff, March 30th, 2025 season. The Battlehawks, they cut safety Nico Bolden. He was a camp cut last year, had 11 tackles during the regular season when he re-signed with St. Louis. The Renegades, mentioned last show, they got a bunch of guys re-signed, including quarterback Luis Perez, wide receivers Deontay Burnett and Javante Payton. Now they signed their third they re-signed their third wide receiver starter. Tyler Vaughns is back in Arlington this year. So Bob Stoops' full complement of pass catchers back in Arlington. The DC Defenders got a key defender back. They re-signed corner DeAndre Baker. Had a great season last year, former first-round pick of the Giants. The Roughnecks, they claimed Battlehawks linebacker Drew Lewis off of waivers. He's been around the UFL a little bit. He was with the San Antonio Brahmas in 2023 and with the Battlehawks last year. Now going to Houston this season. The Brahmas, they signed Roughnecks quarterback Jarek Arantano. So presumably going to be the starter, I would think, with looking at what they have at the quarterback position in San Antonio for Wade Phillips' squad. Not a ton of experience at all. Jarek Arantano, probably the most experienced there. They have Kevin Hogan, and your guy, Kellen Mond, is on San Antonio's roster right now as well.
Mike Zimmer's favorite quarterback of all time, Kellen Mond.
The Birmingham Stallions, they signed Showboats offensive tackle Jaron Jones, a starter all of last year at left tackle, I believe, for Memphis, but not released this offseason, and now finds a home in Birmingham before camp. And his former team, the Memphis Showboats, they have signed former Raiders second-round safety Obi Melifonwu, so has bounced around the league quite a bit. Last played and actually played pro football. He was with a couple different teams last year, or I think he was with Birmingham last year, but did not end up actually playing. But last time he actually started and played was 2022, the Tampa Bay Bandits in the USFL. So that is what the Memphis Showboats came from. That is what they rebranded from, was Tampa Bay Bandits to the Memphis Showboats, and that came in 2023 and third year under that name. NFL news, so Ravens kicker Justin Tucker has been accused of sexual misconduct against 6 massage therapists. So I talked to someone down here the other day about it when it first came out. I was like, dude, I hope this doesn't turn into a AFC North thing. I mean, it's not looking great.
Browns are about to reset the kicker market going after him.
Yeah.
I think the biggest part of the news for this, it's not just the misconduct. It's the fact that this misconduct allegedly has been going on for multiple years.
Mm-hmm.
I think some outlets have reported that this misconduct goes all the way back to like 2021. And there's a possibility that multiple team officials knew about it, including coaches. So I think that's just as big as this misconduct by Justin Tucker is just the fact that it appears to have been a big cover-up by this organization to keep this out of the loop for as long as it has been.
Yeah, which is definitely interesting. Ravens considered one of the most respected organizations in the league. But yeah, I mean, we'll see. We'll see what comes of it. Obviously Deshaun got a lengthy suspension, and if any of these, are proved right, I mean, he's going to be out for a while for sure. The Rams quarterback Matthew Stafford announcing he will return for 2025. They got to get a deal done to restructure his contract, I believe. I think I don't know the specifics, but I think his cap number is pretty high, and the Rams can't afford it. So I'm probably going to get a reworked deal coming for Stafford there. Pro Bowl. So the Pro Bowl games got kicked off last night. NFC up over the AFC 14-7 after the skills competitions. And so that's the starting score that will occur when the flag football game kicks off on Sunday. So start with 14-7 NFC. I believe the NFC won last year's too. So Eli going back to back here potentially. A lot of game to go, but some guys that got added to the Pro Bowl because of opt-outs and Super Bowl. Steelers quarterback Russell Wilson, Patriots rookie quarterback Drake May, Bucks quarterback Baker Mayfield, Bills running back James Cook, Seahawks wide receiver Jackson Smith and Jigba, Steelers guard Isaac Seumalo, and Bills center Connor McGovern all added. It's interesting. There's no defensive players added. No defensive opt-outs. Just the offensive guys, the freaking prima donnas. Coaching carousel news. Former Cowboys head coach Mike McCarthy pulling out of the Saints head coach search, focusing on the 2026 hiring cycle, so he will not be on the sideline this year. Similar to Pete Carroll, really. Pete Carroll did that last year. Didn't coach this season, and came back, and what do you know? He's a head coach. So yeah, I mean, we'll see. See if McCarthy lands a head coaching job in 2026. But yeah, it all signs point to Eagles offensive coordinator Kellen Moore be staying in New Orleans after the Super Bowl, becoming the Saints head coach. Freaking hate it. I hate Mike McCarthy. I hate Joe Brady. So yeah. Why they have to freaking take my offensive coordinator?
Because he's good. It's a cost of being good.
Yeah. Anyways, the Jets, Aaron Glenn has a couple of his coordinators filled out here. They hired former 49ers defensive coordinator Steve Wilks as the DC. He was last with San Francisco 2023, was a consultant for Charlotte this past season. The Raiders, they re-signed defensive coordinator Patrick Graham. So he had been a free agent when Antonio Pierce was let go. Contract was up, and was allowed to seek other opportunities. He did. He interviewed for a couple other positions, including head coaching positions and coordinator positions. But Tom Brady and Pete Carroll liked him too much that they wanted to get him back in Vegas. So that's what they did. Liam Cohen has his defensive coordinator. Jaguars hiring Packers linebackers coach, run game coordinator Anthony Campanile as defensive coordinator. First coordinator job in his career. The Jets hired assistant special teams coach as Broncos assistant special teams coach Chris Banjo as their special teams coordinator, so former player as well there. And then, the Bucks. Appreciate you sending that, Jimmy. The Bucks hiring their offensive coordinator there, Liam Cohen replacement. It's pass game coordinator. They promoted their pass game coordinator, Josh Grizzard, to offensive coordinator. And that is wild that he has become the offensive coordinator. Not real. I mean, just looking at his coaching history, like he had never been anything more really than a quality control coach. He was, interestingly, the Dolphins wide receivers coach in 2020, 2021. And then he was still with Miami in 22 and 23, but he was the offensive quality control coach. So it was, I feel like, a demotion somehow. But he had been with the Dolphins since 2017, before coming to the Bucks this past year as the pass game coordinator. So 34 years old and getting his first coordinator shot. It's interesting. Some of these guys, this hiring cycle, it's like, dang, like where these guys come from, but yeah. The Lions, they signed Broncos senior personnel executive David Shaw to be the pass game coordinator. So he's going to help Johnny Morton there, the new offensive coordinator in Detroit, and David Shaw back on the sidelines. First time since 2022, I think, was his last season at Stanford. The Raiders offensive coordinator search under Pete Carroll, they interviewed a familiar face. Dolphins quarterbacks coach, pass game coordinator Darrell Bevell won a Super Bowl with Coach Carroll in Seattle, and potentially reuniting in Vegas. We will see. The Texans offensive coordinator search, they interviewed Vikings assistant offensive coordinator, assistant QB's coach Grant Udinski. He's gone, Jimmy. He's gone.
No, don't take my boy Wonder. I love him. He's so good. Keep everyone in the building. Don't let him leave. Lock his door. Steal his
yeah. And then the Cowboys offensive coordinator search under new head coach Brian Schottenheimer. They interviewed Cardinals offensive line coach Clayton Adams. That's another guy I was like, I have never heard of this guy in my life. And he is apparently the favorite. He is interviewing in person, meeting with the Cowboys personnel today. And apparently the favorite to land the OC job under Schottenheimer. And that's just, it's like another, like, bro. Just all I can do is laugh. I think it's hilarious what's happening in Dallas right now.
It's something, man. I mean, this is just Jerry Jones, just not. I'll just say it. He's old. The game is just passing him by. It's passed him by since the mid 2000s. We're now 20 years later, and he thinks he's the smartest man in the room. He relies on no one else. I mean, he should have been fired after he had to be talked out of drafting Johnny Manziel. That was a decade ago. Like, come on. Like, this is embarrassing, Jerry. Like, no other team does this. And I get it. You were successful in the early 90s when no one had an understanding of analytics and, player personnel the way they do nowadays. You just, oh, man, like, I'm not even a fan of the Cowboys. I love seeing the Cowboys fail, and it's frustrating to watch ineptitude like this.
Yeah, for sure. I enjoy it. I enjoy it just as much as Stephen A. Smith does.
How about them Cowboys?
I can't do the slow clap and laugh though, like he can.
I can't do it either.
Yeah, pick standings here. You and John suck.
Yeah, I know.
You guys went 0-2. Logan and I went 2-0 in conference championship week. Logan and I correctly picked the Eagles and the Chiefs to make Super Bowl 59. So it is a wrap. It is a wrap. Logan has secured the win because there's only one game left. So congrats, Logan. He went on a tear this year in all the picks. He won the Monday show. He won the NFL picks. He won the locks, and he won the dogs. And Jimmy, it was you were the only thing standing in his way from a clean sweep, winning the college picks.
Yes, sir. I went last to first this year in college picks, but first to last in NFL picks. I'm all in on winning. I'll sacrifice everything for the win. And it shows.
Yeah, for sure. I'm chilling in third place. That's where I finished last year. We only had 3 people. I finished in third by default last year. No, you won the NFL last year. Yeah. There you go. Yeah.
If you ain't first, you're last, and I take that personally.
All right, we got the Reese Senior Bowl tomorrow, 2:30 Eastern. I think it starts on TV. 3:00, I believe, is the game actually kicks off. I'm not sure. You have to check your local listings on that. But I got a list of players that are definitely worth noting that had good practice weeks, and I want to see how they play in the game. I'll be driving, so I won't get to watch it. I'll have to watch some highlights on it. But yeah, and plus, you never know who's actually going to play because there was about 8 guys, I think, that left this week that opted out of the rest of the week after Wednesday's practice. There was a bunch of guys that opted out the final practice day and the game. So limited rosters even more so. And like I said, you never know who's actually going to even play in the game. But I'll give you my list anyways of who I think you need to watch based off what I saw at practice this week. So quarterback wise, we're going to go the American squad first. Quarterback wise, I like Jackson Dart and Jalen Milroe. Jackson Dart and Milroe both kind of really saved their weeks yesterday. Yesterday was both of their best days of practice. I definitely think Dart was the best quarterback on the American squad yesterday. I'll throw Riley Leonard in there as well. He has had excellent ball placement throughout the week. It's just he just doesn't have the arm like the other guys do. Short to intermediate is where he has to live because he really doesn't have the deep ball bomb type of arm that Milroe, I think just watching it in person, he has the best arm here power wise. Dart, though, can zip it and just needs to work on the accuracy, I think, a little bit. Although he did have a bunch of games where he was plus 70% there at Ole Miss. Running backs, loved this group of running backs. Start out with my Bulldog. I'm going to talk about the Bulldogs, the whole American team, because why not? Trevor Etienne, I think he is up for. I don't think the Senior Bowl didn't release their all practice teams yet, but I think Trevor Etienne definitely deserves consideration for the offensive player of the week for the American team because he was just a beast. Didn't matter if he was running, didn't matter if he was running routes, catching the ball. He was just being dominant and really, I kept telling people that I've talked to about him, like, I think he has the stuff to be a 3-down guy. Size isn't really an issue. I mean, a lot of the running backs here are very diminutive. Most of the running backs on both sides are right around 5'8", 5'9". So they're pretty small guys, but the thing I like about Trevor is he's 202 pounds, so he has the bulk to run inside. He's a tough runner, physical inside. You can go to the podcast TikTok or Instagram to see my interview with him that I did. But yeah, he's a good one. Marcus Yarns, I think Delaware running back. I think he had a great week. I think he was the best pass catcher out of all the running backs this week. Definitely a 3rd down type of guy that can give you some running ability. He's one of the lighter backs. I think he's 189 pounds or something like that. So he's on the lighter side, but still, I think he's a great third down type of back for you in the league. And then the last running back I'll say with the American squad, Jarquez Hunter from Auburn. I was highly impressed with his pass blocking. He might have been the best pass blocking running back this week. Just really stifles any linebacker that's trying to blitz or whatever. But yeah, I was impressed with his pass blocking this week. Wide receivers on the American squad, TCU's Jack Besh. He had a great week. Jump ball fiend for him. All he does is make contested catches, it seemed like this week. So make sure you watch out for that. Florida wide receiver Samir DK. I was impressed with his route running ability. Had some good catches. He also dinged off the goalpost. He made the goalpost shake when we caught a ball and ran into the goalpost there. So it was kind of cool to watch the goalpost shake around. But third wideout here for the American, Georgia's Arian Smith. So it was a rough Wednesday for Arian Smith. He had 3 drops in a matter of a minute, I want to say. It was a very disheartening sight. Finally caught the 4th one. And then, to be honest, I don't think I saw him drop another ball the rest of that practice or yesterday. So it has been corrected, I think, for Arian. And just like he said when I interviewed him at Media Day, that's the question with him. We saw it a lot during Georgia. His playing days at Georgia, it was the drops. And I don't know if he necessarily quelled those concerns because of Wednesday's practice, but I think he's definitely in a better place going into the combine next month. And then the last guy, Jalen Royals, Utah State. I think he flew kind of under the radar coming in, and he produced pretty well. I didn't see any wow plays from him, but I was impressed with his route running. I think he's a possession type of guy at the next level. Tight ends. This tight end class is really solid. I was impressed with the tight ends, especially on the American side. Thomas Fidone, the second from Nebraska, pretty big size. I don't have that in front of me, but most of the tight ends here were like 6'4", 6'5". No one was exorbitantly tall, like 6'7", 6'8", 6'9". They were normal size tight ends, 6'4", 6'5". So Fidone, though, I was impressed with his route running ability and his speed. Didn't watch a ton of Nebraska, but Fidone looked good this week, rolling out there. Mason Taylor, I like as a split Y. I don't think he's going to be the greatest inline blocker. He struggled in some of the blocking drills just with speed and getting into a pass set. But I think definitely a move type of tight end that you can utilize in multiple tight end sets, and had some great catches as well. He has good concentration, hand-eye as well. And then the last one, Jackson Halls is his name. I can't remember. The Georgia Tech tight end. Yeah, Jackson Halls. I'd have to look at the entire draft class of where or what other guys are available, but I think Jackson Halls might be the number 1 H-back in the class. I don't really like him in line. I think he works very well on a zone kick out type of split zone kind of running attack, and is really solid blocker as an H-back and can catch the ball as well. He had a great one-handed catch on the sideline, but I just don't think he's necessarily fast enough or athletic enough to be a true Y tight end. I think I like him better as an H-back. Offensive line, Emory Jones, the tackle from LSU. I was impressed with him. He struggled a little bit. I did like the fieriness, though. He got into a fight with Shamar Stewart, Texas A&M, on Wednesday, I think it was. And so you kind of like to see that sometimes, but as long as it doesn't get, overly physical. So I liked Emory Jones. He had some good pass sets there. The little guy, guard center. I guess he can play center. I didn't see him play too much center, but guard Willie Lampkin out of North Carolina, 5'10". He is in there. The little guy stood up though. He had some great stuffs on the one-on-one drills, and I saw he stuffed Deion Walker out of Kentucky, who was the biggest player here. He's like 6'7" or 6'8", whatever it was, 340 pounds, and Lampkin at 5'10", 295 stuffed him on the one-on-one drills. Third guy I have for O-line, tackle guard out of Arizona, Jonas Avainea. I think he's going to follow in his predecessor steps, Jordan Morgan, playing guard now for Green Bay. I think that's probably the transition that Avainea is going to have to go. He got beat on some when he was playing tackle, but I thought he looked pretty solid when he moved inside. And then the last one, FCS guy, or not FCS, they're in the FBS now. I forgot. Conference USA. Jacksonville State guard Clay Webb. A lot of scouts were highly impressed with his performance this week, one-on-ones and in team drills. I think he's a good mover and should be a solid day 3 guy. On the defense for the American interior defensive line, Omar Norman Lott from Tennessee. I didn't really notice him too much yesterday. I think he was one of the guys that actually left, but fantastic. He had a couple of jumps on the snap, got TFLs, and then he had a good pass rush as well that I saw. So he's a good one. My Georgia boy, Tyrion Ingram-Dawkins, good run stuffer, I think, with some pass rush upside, can play most of the positions inside there. And then the last one, Cameron Jackson out of Florida, big 6'6" frame, one of the taller guys here, and provided some push on the interior there. Edge rush, Princely Umanmielen out of Ole Miss. Oh, my goodness. He dominated yesterday. I was very impressed with his speed on the edge and his power to hold up in the run game. And he's position versatile. He can move inside on passing downs, has the ability to do that and play the edge. So I think it's a solid utility piece for anyone looking for D-line help. RJ Obens, the other edge rusher out of Notre Dame. I'm looking at all the American squad, had some good pass rush this week and setting the edge well. Linebacker-wise, Shamar James out of Florida. I was impressed with his pass coverage. Didn't notice him too much in the run game, but passing-wise, I think he's a solid coverage guy. Jack Kaiser. Kaiser might have been the best linebacker this week, really. Highly impressed run game. He's a great tackler. And, I was more impressed with his coverage skills because I don't think we saw a ton of that at Notre Dame. But, he stuck with most of the running backs in the one-on-one drills and was able to get a couple pass breakups there. Last one, Georgia, go Dogs, Smile Munden. He dominated on Wednesday's practice in the one-on-one drills against the running backs, and great tackler as well. Great blitzer. He has a full repertoire of pass rush moves. He has a spin, he has a swim, and he has a bull rush that are all very effective. And I think that fits well with any type of blitzing scheme. Corner-wise, I wasn't impressed with a lot of the corners this week on either team. But I'll go with two little guys here. One, because he's from a little school, Southern Arkansas, Melvin Smith Jr. He had a bunch of pass breakups on the outside, has the speed to run with NFL-type wide receivers like we're seeing here this week. And I was impressed with the uptick in talent that he had to go against. Played well. And then the actual little guy, little 5'8" corner Upton Stout from Western Kentucky, transferred to WKU a couple years ago from North Texas. And I was surprised because, like, in the NFL, he's going to play nickel. He's going to play in the slot, but they had him playing outside this week as well, and he held his own. I was highly impressed with that. And he was going up against, guys like Isaac Tesla out of Arkansas, who are 6'1", going up against guys like Jaden Higgins that are 6'2", 6'3". So yeah. And then rounding out the American team here, safety, Caleb Ransaw out of Tulane, box safety kind of guy, good tackler, pretty solid in coverage. He had a pass breakup that I can recall. Billy Bowman Jr. at Oklahoma, he was excellent in the one-on-one drills. Got beat a couple times, but you're not going to win them all. But he had a bunch of pass breakups and a good hit as well on the one play. And then, of course, got to end the American team with the last Georgia Bulldog, Dan Jackson. He ended the week of practice on the American squad with a memorable moment. Jack Besh was trying to catch a ball right at the goal line on a sideline route, and Dan Jackson did Dan Jackson things and lit him up on the sideline to knock the ball out. And everyone in the stands like, oh, shit. But, yeah, that's great. That's what Dan Jackson does. He's not the best in coverage, but he'll come down and hit you and knock that ball out for sure. And I wasn't impressed with a lot of the American team special teams guys. The kicker, Caden Davis, he struggles with accuracy, I think. And we didn't see – it was interesting. The national team decided to punt one day. The rest of the time they did punt. The punter just, did the motion and then didn't actually kick the ball. The American team didn't punt. James Turnip or Burnip there. James Burnip from Alabama. He's the American punter this week. They didn't have him punt at all. So it was an interesting decision there. I would have liked to see him do it a little bit. Anything on the American team before I go to the national, Jimmy?
Yeah, I have no idea. You're there. I'm not. I haven't been keeping up.
You gotta watch practice.
I have not watched it, man. I've been busy doing other stuff. I'll let you keep your expertise on this. I'm here for the ride.
All right, on to the national team here. The two quarterbacks out of the three I'm looking at. Dylan Gabriel, I think I had an up and down type of week. There were times where I was like, bro, like, what are you doing? Dylan Gabriel's known for his accuracy. There was about 3 plays in a row where he missed, and he was behind the receiver or wide, and it just missed. But I still think I like Gabriel. He's the shortest quarterback here. He's 5'10". So his height definitely was a disadvantage on some of the drills that they were doing. And the biggest issue I saw with Gabriel, which hopefully he gets this thing corrected, he's got to stretch more, I think, because rolling to his right as a left-handed quarterback, it was bad. Like, he has very tight hips rolling to his right. He just cannot get his hips around to throw that left-handed ball rolling to the right. So that was the biggest red flag I saw from Dylan Gabriel-wise. The other quarterback is my guy, Taylor Elgersma, out of Laurier in Canada, Ontario. Day one, highly impressed. He was the best quarterback overall on both teams. Really didn't notice him the other 2 days, unfortunately. I was partly because I was watching other positions the other 2 days. I focused on quarterbacks the first day. But I was still impressed with his cadence. He had the loudest cadence here, which is fantastic to see. He has command of the huddle as well, knows what he's doing, which is crazy because he has never played 11-man football. They play the CFL rules up there. So I think it's 8-man or something like that, whatever it is, in the Canadian college system. So, yeah, it's a total transition. I think he has the stuff to do it. Movement-wise, he's excellent, even with how big he is. 6'4", 6'4" and 3/8, 216, but he moves excellently. Running back wise, I like Ollie Gordon, second out of Oklahoma State. Dip in production this year, but I still like him a lot. He was one of the biggest backs here, 6'1", 220, and doesn't run like it though. He like glides down the field and has great speed, I think, and good pass catcher as well. Donovan Edwards. Donovan Edwards started pretty slow this week, and I still think he improved throughout the week, but I still think my suspicions were right on him. I still think he's a little bit tight and more of a one cut runner, just straight downhill run game versus side to side, shiftiness. I don't think he has a lot of wiggle, but I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. We'll see. And probably the biggest challenger to Marcus Yarns, other than Trevor Etienne in the receiving back game, is LaQuint Allen Jr. out of Syracuse. I was impressed with his movement ability and the route running aspect in the 101s. Had an excellent out and up route that he beat the linebacker on. So I like LaQuint Allen. He's a tough runner as well inside. Has struggled with injuries throughout his career, though. Wide receiver, Xavier Restrepo, Miami. Oh, my goodness. I love this guy. Slot fiend is what I wrote down for him. He's going to be one of the best slot receivers in this rookie class, if not the best for sure. And like someone I talked to before about him, they're like, yeah, like look what the Lad McConkey did last year coming out as a slot receiver. I don't think Restrepo is quite as fast as Lad is, but I do really, really like Xavier Restrepo. Next two guys, the Iowa State guys, Jaden Higgins, Jalen Noel. Noel, they were running him on some end arounds, so he definitely has a speed to do that. Higgins is the opposite. He still has speed, not as fast, but he's got a lot more height than Jalen Noel does. 6'3" and 3/4, 217, as opposed to Jalen Noel, 5'9" and 3/4, 196. So a little bit different body types there. But Jaden Higgins should be a jump ball type of guy, big body receiver there. I like him a lot more than I do Jalen Noel, just because I like the big guys. And then Tez Johnson is the last receiver here out of Oregon. He might have had the quickest foot speed of any of the receivers at the Senior Bowl. The get off the snap was just elite. And then, of course, he has speed as well in the route running aspect. So I was impressed with his foot speed, though. Tight ends, Harold Fannin Jr., Bowling Green, was really the key guy against Tyler Warren in the Mackey Award race for best tight end in the country in college this year. To be honest, it was weird. I really didn't notice him. He had a drop. I remember that on a throw that went right in between the 4 and the 4. So it was weird, I thought. Harold Fannin should have been one of the best tight ends based off how well he played the last couple of seasons at Bowling Green, but he really wasn't, to be honest. And he, just looking at what his measurables ended up being, 6'3" and 1/8, 238. So he's light as well for a tight end, just 238 pounds. Definitely a split out guy. I would be very cautious putting him in line with how light he is. And he's not the best blocker either. The opposite can be said for the other tight end I like from the national team. Elijah Arroyo from Miami had an excellent week. He 6'4", 6'4.5", 251. Pretty good size there. Good range as well, catching the ball, and decent speed also. Um, I was impressed with his interview as well at media day. He was pretty down to earth, light guy. So I was impressed with Elijah Arroyo. Offensive line wise on the national side, offensive tackle Josh Connerly Jr. out of Oregon. He had an up and down week. I thought he looked pretty good when I looked at offensive line yesterday in the one-on-one drills. I thought he did a pretty solid job of anchoring in his pass sets and stifling the defensive lineman. He did get beat on a little bit in team, but overall, I don't think he necessarily went down in draft stock this week. The next guy is offensive tackle Anthony Belton, NC State. He was also up and down. He had a holding call early on in the week. And after that, though, I thought he played pretty well in the pass sets. He's a guy that I think can move to guard as well. It's tough because I think he's a bigger dude. Yes, 6'5" and 3/8, 345. So it will be interesting to see, though, with the success of Mekhi Becton this year with Philadelphia, if we see more of the bigger guys that are struggling at tackle go inside like Becton did this year for Philly. The next three guys, or the last three guys for offensive line here, are all interior guys. Wyatt Millum, West Virginia, guard center. I think he's going to play center probably with guard flexibility. Obviously, he played guard for a year or two while Zach Frazier was at West Virginia, played center last year. So I thought he did pretty well, at all three positions. But I like him really as a center there. Another guy that probably should play center is Caleb Rogers out of Texas Tech, guard center versatility. Was highly impressed with his anchoring in the pass game there. And he had a couple of great run blocks as well. And then the last one, Gray Zabel out of North Dakota State. A lot of people came in wanting to see him. I was probably in the minority on him. I didn't really think he was that impressive. He had a couple of times where I saw him slipping and going down to one knee. It looked like there were times as well where, coming from the FCS, even though North Dakota State they just won the national championship and has been one of the best programs in FCS for the last decade plus. There were times where I thought the bigger FBS guys got the best of him for sure. So I think he's got a lot to work on still going in the combine, but I know some people really like him and some people like me that are on the opposite side. Interior D line, Joshua Farmer from Florida State. I feel like he's the forgotten man out of that FSU defensive line, but he's a big dude for sure, and he has some great run stuffing ability. I don't think he gives you a ton in the pass rush game, but definitely can give you a sack or two every once in a while. But yeah, big run stuffer there. Darius Alexander, Toledo. Oh my goodness. He, along with Princely and Milan, were the guys yesterday that won in each practice. And I interviewed Darius as well. Or no, I didn't. Never mind. I wanted to, but I forgot to. Anyways, he had a great day yesterday. I was impressed with him. His penetrating ability, interior there was excellent. Anais Peebles, Virginia Tech. He's a guy that popped early in the week on Tuesday. Was pretty good the rest of the week, but not as good as his first one. Had some jumps on the snap there, got some TFLs, and a pass deflection as well. And then a high energy guy, my last D lineman, Utah's, is it Jonah Tafuna? I'm blanking on his first name here. He was No, Junior Tafuna. Yeah, Junior Tafuna there. Um, like I said, high energy guy. He was yelling and screaming a lot and just keeping his guys' spirits up. And I really appreciated that. But he also played very well. He got a couple of run stops in the team run game that I was impressed with. His penetration there because yeah, he's pretty decent size, 6'2" and 7/8, 303. So solid nonetheless. 3 tech potentially. Edge rushers, Landon Jackson, Arkansas. He came in highly touted and did nothing to dismay that reputation. I think his speed rush was the best thing I saw from him. But then I did see him do a bull rush as well. I would have liked to see more of specialized pass rush in him, like a swim or a spin move or a rip and pull, something like that. But yeah, the speed rush to get around the edge, especially with some of the tackles that he was going against that are bigger guys, I thought he did well to utilize that aspect. And then one of the other winners from yesterday, along with Darius Alexander, was Oluwafemi Oladejo. He is particularly special to me because I interviewed him after practice, but on Wednesday, he also was the guy that found my phone on the field for me. So highly appreciate Olu for finding my phone and getting it back to me. But yeah, Oladejo, number 99 there, he was a beast yesterday, blowing up everything when they went to team. So yeah, I was impressed with him, and he's got some good size as an edge, 6'2" and 3/4, 261. So very solid there. And also a pretty big wingspan, 80 and 3/4 there. Linebacker wise, I didn't like this group of linebackers as much as I did the American team, but two guys that I watched a lot were Jeffrey Bassa out of Oregon. He was probably the most commanding out of all the linebackers, just taking the mic role and the play calling duties really seriously and getting the calls in correctly from the defensive coordinator there. And then Cody Lindenberg. I came in pretty high on Lindenberg, tackling machine out of Minnesota. Didn't notice him a ton, but again, I think he is definitely he's a 2-down guy. I think I was not impressed with his pass coverage ability, but definitely a tackling machine on early downs. I like that aspect. Classic Big Ten type of linebacker there. Corner wise, Azariah Thomas, I think he was one of the guys that pulled out midweek. Came in with a lot of people thinking he would make a jump, and I think he did. I really didn't watch him a ton, but I did watch one play, and one play sticks in my head that I watched. I don't remember the receiver he was against, but all that I remember is it was number 8, which was what Thomas was wearing this week, and all that I saw was number 8. You didn't even see the receiver because of how sticky in coverage he was. The foot speed and change of direction was elite, to say the least. And yeah, he's lanky as well. You look at 6'1.5", 191. So pretty lanky corner. In the mold of the former guys like Legion of Boom, 32 and a half inch arms as well. So he's got the range for sure. He got big hands as well. 10 and an eighth there. The other corner I thought I like to watch more of probably from this week is Tommy Hill out of Nebraska. And, I wasn't that impressed with him. He got beat on a bunch of plays, but intriguing corner nonetheless. Just under 80-inch wingspan, 79 and a half. But he's a guy that I think will go in the mid rounds and provide some nickel dime package help. Safety wise, FCS guy, I was impressed. Keandre Jackson out of Illinois State was wearing a couple different logos on his helmet, but I saw the Redbird logo in the middle there, so I knew it was Keandre Jackson. I thought he was a corner initially, but he's listed as a safety. I think he might be able to play both because I think he did play some corner as well. But yeah, I mean, he was just as sticky as Azariah Thomas in coverage and had some great pass breakups. I can't remember if he was the guy that had one of the picks this week. There was I think there was about 4 interceptions, maybe 5 combined between the practices. But I think he was one of the guys that got one. The other safety, Sebastian Castro out of Iowa. I mentioned to someone in the stands this week, I was like, yeah, as we were talking about Castro, and I was like, yeah, I mean, it's pretty tough to go wrong with an Iowa defensive player. So Castro there kind of leaning on the coattails of Cooper DeJean right now and the success that he's having in Philadelphia, even though Castro is a safety, not a corner like Coop is. But, yeah, I mean, Castro is a good player there for sure. And then one specialist, I want to mention one specialist for the national team, Florida punter Jeremy Crawshaw. Oh, my goodness, does this kid have a leg? Was absolutely just dropping bombs in the punt game when they actually allowed him to kick the ball on Wednesday. And I was highly impressed because I didn't think any of the specialists this week were really draftable. Ryan Fitzgerald, the kicker out of Florida State, might have been, but his issue is that he doesn't have a big leg. He has a lot of accuracy, in the 40s range, but that's about it. From 50 plus, he's not the greatest, and he, like I said, doesn't have the biggest leg. But yeah, Crawshaw, man, I was highly impressed with his punting ability, and again, I'd have to look at the rest of the class to see where he stacks up, but yeah, I like Jeremy Crawshaw. If you need a punter this year that has a big leg, definitely look at Florida's Pro Day for sure. And yeah, that was it. That was what I had. That was all I saw this week. I think I got all my notes in here for sure. A lot of great talent here. Shamar Stewart, Texas A&M, was a guy that really popped as well, although he left early this week after Wednesday. He had a bunch of great pass. I remember I mentioned Emory Jones. Well, Shamar Stewart bull rushed the hell out of Emory Jones the one play in a team pass set there. Yeah, I don't think I have anything else. Make sure you watch Senior Bowl tomorrow, 2:30 Eastern on NFL Network. That's the show. Make sure didn't miss anything here. Doesn't look like it. So, yeah, that's the show for today. Super excited. Next Friday, it's go time, Jimmy. It is go time next Friday. Super Bowl 59, or Super Bowl licks, as Gronk likes to say. We will have a full Super Bowl preview for you. Tell you who we think will win the big game, who we think will win MVP, and what our final scores will be. Make sure you catch the Monday show as well, because that is where Jimmy will give you all of the things you need in terms of X factors. You got to pay attention to Jimmy's X factors on Monday because they hit.
They both hit last year. Karlaftis and Jennings, man. They're dogs.
Make sure you tune into that. And we'll also get you team versus team breakdown on a couple of key categories that we're looking out for in the big game next Sunday. Make sure also, if you're so inclined to watch the Pro Bowl, I always say I'm not going to watch it, and then I end up watching anyways because there's nothing else to watch. On Sunday at 3 o'clock, I think that's on ESPN. Anyways. Don't forget to follow us on all our social media at FA Podcast on Instagram and X, FA_bets on X as well. FAPodcast.com is our website. Check us out here on YouTube, Facebook, X, and Instagram. well, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio. And also thank y'all for all the views on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, X, everywhere. We had the TikTok that I pinned to the top of our TikTok page. My interview, or not my interview, but a video of Taylor Elgersma, answering questions from other people that were interviewing him. We're over 5,000 views. So thank you. I appreciate all the love. But yeah, make sure you catch us on Monday. We will see you then.